Welcome into NHL Tonight, first shift for Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025. EJ Hradek here alongside Michael Del Zotto making his season debut here on first shift. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me back.
How was the summer? Everything all right?
Fantastic. A lot of travel, but it's nice to be back.
Yeah. And where's the best spot?
Spain.
That's a good trip.
Yeah.
That's a good trip.
There was a lot. It was almost too many trips where you forget to get excited about the next one.
Yeah.
You feel like you're always on the go. But it's nice to get some consistency back here, being with you. Hopefully many more shifts together.
I hope that's the case. And J.D. Lindbergh, our producer, bring him in to wish you well in the new season.
Man, Conte, España. Where'd you go in Spain? I studied abroad in Barcelona.
I was in Barcelona, Ibiza, as normally everyone is doing now, and then Madrid. Went there for a bullfight and a soccer game, which was very interesting.
What was a bullfight like live?
As barbaric as you think it would be.
Wow.
It was,
Can't confirm.
It was interesting because there was kids there watching it as if you were bringing your kids to go watch an NHL
ball game.
Yeah, exactly. And they were all dressed up, and I was like, I was slightly concerned. It was eye-opening, which is why I went there. I went to one. I don't need to see another one.
Yeah, different cultures, different situations. So, all right, JD.
Well, hey, from bullfighting to our podcast, we may be in a different studio today, but the podcast lives on.
Yes.
You can find First Shift Monday through Friday right here on the NHL Network, or if you're up north of the border, we're on Sportsnet. What's up, Canada? We're also available on YouTube as an audio-only podcast. Each and every day we upload it, so make sure you download that for your commutes home. Eej, first things first, got some tough news. Speaking north of the border, not great in the capital.
That is correct. As this tweet from Bruce Garriock, Brady Tkachuk is out for, quote, a significant amount of time, at least 4 weeks. And that is really, really bad news. You see here another tweet. Travis Green says surgery hasn't been ruled out. I mean, right away now you're talking surgery. That is bad news for the Ottawa Senators. Their captain, he was in, it happened in this situation. You see, he gets bumped by Yossi and he goes into the boards. You can see the hand and wrist go in, and like he came back and played in the game, Michael, for a brief period of time, but then I guess afterwards, and just realized that this was much more significant. There he goes, shaking that right hand. And that would be the top hand for a left shot. So this is bad. This is just bad news any way you slice it for the Ottawa Senators, even if it's only 4 weeks, and I hope it's only 4 weeks. I mean, that's a lot of time.
He's the heart and soul of that club. And not to play doctor here, maybe it's a broken bone. They're not sure the severity of it. But for him in that division, there's a lot of teams that are taking the next step. So these points are very important. And early on, you want to build up some type of a lead because you know you are going to go with the ebbs and flows of the season. So to have him hurt early on is not ideal news for that club, but hopefully he's back in 4 weeks and not 6 or 8.
So you had a wrist or a hand injury as well. Yeah. What happened? Tell viewers what happened to you and what was, because it was a lengthy time you were out.
I've had numerous ones. I had one broken bone. I broke it clean in half, so I was back in 4 weeks. But I had another one that was a ligament. I actually tore the ligament completely off the bone.
Wow.
And it was 6 months. And that was surgery. I had pins in it for, I believe, 3 or 4 months, casted the whole time, and then a few months of rehab. So I don't think that's the case. I think they would know that right away. So I'm assuming it's just a broken bone and, wishing him a speedy recovery.
When you see that play and him go in and kind of bracing himself, does that look like the kind of play where it's more break?
And that's actually how I did my wrist. That was up for the 6 months. A very similar play. You're just trying to brace yourself and protect yourself. And he looked pretty upset there. Look, he would have fought Yossi with just the one hand, which was kind of amusing, and it speaks to his character.
Yeah.
He's built old school, and for him to be out, it's something serious.
And it hasn't been a great start to begin with. They've lost 2 of their first 3 games, and now will be without their captain for a while. Here's a look at their upcoming schedule. Back-to-back against the Sabres and the Kraken. First one is in Buffalo, then they're home for the Kraken. Then they get the Islanders. Oilers come in, Flyers, and then head down to D.C. So, I mean, the games accumulate, right, Michael? I mean, this is the way it goes. We think, well, it's early in the season, but that's a 2-week window. Before you know it, you've played 8 to 10 games.
Yeah, with the big break this year in February, you're playing every other day.
Yes.
So 4 weeks is typically probably what a 6-week schedule is for you as far as games. So you're counting the days, that's for sure. And again, you hope he's back sooner than later.
What can they do? I mean, he is one of those unique players when he's out of the lineup, but like, what can they do? Does it mean like Shane Pinto has to take on more? Other guys? I guess everybody has to kind of take on a little more.
He's playing well, he's producing, but you just don't replace the heartbeat of the team. You can get guys that maybe will score a bigger goal here and there, but what he does for them on a nightly basis, and he doesn't take games off, and that's the thing with them. There's no, okay, we didn't notice Brady tonight. Yeah, you didn't see him on the score sheet, but he's always mixing it up, he's always scrumming up, he's always in front of the net. So he's always in your face, and when you're the opposing team, he's a guy you have circled on the starting lineup every single night.
Yeah, he's a beast. Yeah. I mean, like, he can change the course of games with his offensive ability, but also his physical play as well. So really bad news. Brady, take care of yourself. Get back in the lineup soon. Hopefully it's not going to be so bad, but boy, you start to worry when you have a significant amount of time. We shall see. We got a busy schedule for you tonight. 8 games on the docket. You can see it. It starts at 7 Eastern. We got 4 7 o'clock games. Preds and Leafs. Kraken, undefeated Kraken, 2-0 against the Canadiens. Oilers starting the trip in New York, taking on the Rangers, Lightning, and the Caps. 9 o'clock, Golden Knights and Flames. 9:30, Wild and Stars. We're going to talk about that with Mike Russo a little bit later in the show. 10 o'clock, Sharks home against the Canes. And then 10:30, the Ducks with their home opener taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's talk, Michael, about the Edmonton Oilers as they start this road trip now. It's 1-1 so far start to the season. You can see the numbers here with the Rangers and the Oilers. Good to see Connor McDavid coming east. We like to get to see Connor a little bit more up close. I don't know if those teams in the east like to see it. They like to leave him in the west. Seems to, plays at Madison Square Garden. He seems to, have some fun there as well. But like when a player like this comes to town, there are the numbers in 8 games, 9 points. I mean, I guess he does that everywhere he goes.
Is there a building he doesn't like?
Going
he produces everywhere.
But like. When he comes to town, like in when your era, if it was Crosby or Ovechkin, what is the dynamic? What is the conversation in the room if you're the Rangers tonight getting ready for a team that's led by 2 great players in McDavid and Draisaitl?
I think that's the key. Is it's not just one, it's 2 of them. Yeah. And they start off, they'll load them up on a line, maybe they separate them, but they're both able to dictate the play when they're on the ice, and they're both very special. He's one of those guys, you're not going to stop him. You're just trying to limit the amount of grade A's with him. And credit to him before was I always used to think that give him the gap, because if you gap up on him, you can't skate as great as him and he's going to beat you. Where you give him that gap, he wasn't always shooting through a screen, and over the last couple of years he's worked on his shot and he's developed that. So he's a shooter and a passer now, which makes him that much more difficult to defend. Yeah,
no question. And the Rangers over the last couple of years, coming into this year, they really struggled against the rush. I mean, that was an area where they really didn't defend against the rush very well. This year, small sample size, new head coach, some new personnel. They've been much better against the rush. I think they're top 10 right now. Again, small sample size, but you got to start somewhere.
It's a systems thing. I think it's less about the personnel and a systems thing. And I had Coach Sully. He was my first defense coach when I was in New York. And with him and Torts, they ingrain the X's and O's in you early on. And as much as you go to training camp to get back in shape and do some of the tough skating tests, it's always about the X's and O's. You want that to be ingrained, because when you are tired and you are in your end zone for a minute or on the ice and you're a little bit exhausted, you want to make sure that is ingrained in you, so you're able to play that style of play no matter what the situation is in the game.
Now, defending the rush, is that a 5-player thing? Because, I mean, we look at the defenseman, right? It's like, well, the D guy, I mean, but it's more than that.
A lot of onus is definitely on the defense on being able to set your gap early on. But there's more onus on the back checking from the forwards. And it's a tough job because you're skating up and down the ice. But for them to be as excited to go up the ice with the puck as they are coming back and providing back pressure, which allows their D to set the gap. And I would say that's probably the whole of the Rangers this year is the back end. Is maybe there's a few question marks. An incredible signing with Gavrikov. And I think him and Fox are only going to develop more and more chemistry as they play together. And I think he'll be a rock for him to allow him to use his IQ and get up in the play and join the rush.
On paper, that does look like a good pair, right?
Yeah.
Smart right shot guy moving the puck up the ice, big, strong, stay-at-home lefty. Seems like it should work. So far, so good. We'll see.
Yeah. Coach Sullivan talked about it the other day. He said they're only going to get better. And the key to a good partnership is being each other's eyes and ears. And that it just doesn't happen overnight. So you have to develop that. You have to play together. It's not just repetition in games, but in practice as well. It's just knowing where each other are going to be at all times, where, yes, you're communicating, but sometimes it's just, okay, I'm going back for this puck. I don't have to hear where, from Gavrikov, I don't have to hear where Foxy's going to be. I know he's going to be over on the weak side. He's going to be over my left shoulder, and it's being able to make a 5-foot play, and then you're out of your end zone as opposed to defending for a minute, minute and a half.
Communication.
Yeah.
Big thing, no question. And they'll have to be communicating tonight against McDavid and Draisaitl. Now, another point with those two star players, and it's something interesting this year, they're killing penalties a lot. And now it's only been 2 games, and the roster's juggled around a little bit, but you can see here, shorthanded time on ice leaders among forwards this season, and Draisaitl at 223, McDavid at 143. And I looked already in the 2 games, those guys are over 25 minutes a game. I mean, what do you think? Do you like those guys killing penalties?
I hate it.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's a straightforward answer.
Yeah, they're going to get
I hate it.
They're going to get their ice time. They're going to get their offensive looks. They're going to get their power play time. Year in and year out, you know these guys are going to produce. You know they're not going to be an issue for you come playoff time. What we always talk about every single year is goaltending and then their depth. So now if you're taking away the depth minutes for the other players, and these guys are logging 2+ minutes in PK time, their depth players are now playing 8 minutes a game as opposed to 10 or 12. Yeah. It's a lot tougher to get into the game when you're playing those limited minutes and you feel like you're not having a role. So I understand what they're doing. I think with most power plays with the 4 forwards and 1D, there's opportunities to get a look on the offensive side and score shorthanded goals. The best one of the last probably 5 years is Benajad and Kreider. The amount of shorthanded goals they score, but at the same time, you're taking away minutes from the depth players, and it takes one incorrect block shot or a poor play, and next thing you know, Connor or Leon are out for a significant amount of time, and that hurts more than the depth players being out.
Do you think it just could be that they've only played 2 games in the first handful, and maybe Coach Chris Knoblauch is just trying some different things? It is such a small sample size.
They're trying to fill a gap with some of the injuries, yes, but at the same time, you have depth players where why not give them the opportunity to show that because they're not going to get it. They're not going to get it when those guys come back. So give them the opportunity to show that I can take on these increased minutes, because if come down the line, the end of the season, come playoff time, when there are injuries, you know that these guys can fill those holes as well.
And that's building a team, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, listen, McDavid and Draisaitl, they're going to drive the bus. And they're going to play big minutes, and you want them to be rested and ready when we get all the way to April, May, and June, and particularly in a year where we're going to have a condensed schedule and we have the Olympics, and those guys are going to participate. They're going to have a heavy load to begin with. I think this is the time to find out maybe about some other guys. Can they fill these roles? Because to your point, and you've been on these teams, when you don't have a piece of it, when you're just a bit part, you're not you're on the team, but what is your role? And if everybody's together and they have a bite, they have a piece of it, I think you have a better chance of building that cohesive
You're
group.
not as invested, and you're not building that culture of everyone being together and feeling like you are the most important piece. Of course, we know that, as you said, those guys are driving the bus. But with deep playoff runs the last few years, these guys have played a lot of hockey, 4 nations. Now you get into Olympics this year. Why are you trying to tire them out early on when, in my opinion, it's just not needed? And I'm sure there's a conversation that's been had, and I bet you Leon and Connor have probably both gone to the coach and said, give us more minutes. We want more minutes. Yeah. But I think there's a fine line with, again, giving other players an opportunity to fill those minutes right now, not seeing them get injured, and saving them for another deep playoff run.
It'll be interesting to see how things evolve there for Chris Knoblauch this year. His 3rd season, his 2nd full season there, and with some new personnel. Connor Brown was such a good penalty killer, and they got some other guys that are out of the mix right now. We'll see if it evolves over time when we see more games, but it will be something to keep an eye on, because if this is a thing, that'll be a real test for those guys over the course of an 82-game season, an Olympic year, and then in the playoffs to be at their very best. We'll see if they continue down that road. For the Rangers, one other note about the Rangers. This is their 3rd home game now. No goals in the first 2. Now, I don't know. Call me crazy, but I don't think that's good.
Not a recipe for success.
That's not good. Right now, that first game against the Penguins, I thought they were really sleepy in that game, for the lack of a better term. Now, give the Penguins credit. They played well that night. Sheelos played well. I thought the Rangers played very well in the game against Washington on Sunday, 2nd of a back-to-back for them. And, the goaltender, Lindgren just played really well. Charlie Lindgren played really well in the game. But it's got to be a little unnerving to go through 120 minutes on home ice and not have a goal.
They're going to be hearing it from the crowd tonight for sure. I was at that game Sunday. They definitely outplayed them. They deserved a much better result. Going into the locker room after, I'm sure Coach Sullivan's telling them, if we continue to play that way, we're going to win more games than we're going to lose. So I think just staying with it. I know it's early on, and as we talked about with some of the chemistry, with some of the pairings, a few injuries, I'm not so worried about that if they continue to play that way. But the games before is a completely different game, and that did worry me a little bit.
What was impressive about the Rangers for you the other night? Like, what things did you say, hey, I like that?
It just felt like the ice was tilted. You know, whether it was the first line, whether it was the fourth line, they were grinding down low. I mean, Matt Rempe, there's a lot of mixed reviews about him, but I thought he's done a great job this offseason. He was holding pucks below the goal line, tiring out the other team, and tilting the ice and allowing them to have that offensive zone advantage time. So a lot of good things to like. You know, they didn't give up a ton, but
yeah,
you got to score. You got to score to win. Yeah,
no question about it. I'm glad to hear that for Rempe. I'm a fan in terms of. I mean, the fighting is. We're at a different era of the game right now, but I do think that he can be a helpful player with his size, and he skates well enough, and doing those things, just he can be a force because you're a defenseman.
Yeah.
When he was coming at you, he didn't even necessarily have to hit you to make your thought process probably quicken.
Just knowing that he's in the lineup, if you're a defenseman, you're worried, okay, if I'm playing against the fourth line and that puck gets chipped in on the short side and I'm going back for it.
Got to go quick.
I'm not so sure I'm going for it. I may be letting him get it first. And then that, as we talked about before, breaking the puck out or being stuck in your end. It's a conscious decision that you have to make. It's as much as the game has changed, those are still big hits from a big body that you're trying not to take, 5-10 times a night.
Yeah, no question about it. So Rangers and Oilers tonight at MSG should be really interesting. Oilers starting this Eastern road swing. I think they have the Islanders next, the Devils, and a couple more games on the trip as well. We got the Toronto Maple Leafs and Nashville Predators tonight in Toronto. Both teams played yesterday. The Leafs were on the losing end. Late game loss. Just a tough one to lose. They played so well. Lost to the Red Wings. Mason Appleton scored in the last minute to give the Red Wings the victory. And the Preds went up to Ottawa and got a win. And it's 2-0-1 for the Nashville Predators. And, they needed a good start this year. I mean, that's a team everything that could have gone wrong last year went wrong. Some of it was self-inflicted with the decisions maybe they made and playing people in different spots, but they had a lot of new personnel. We were talking about it in the meeting that you went to a couple of different places in your career. Not so easy sometimes to get settled in and then be at your best.
Yeah, it's tough. They had a lot of new faces. Barry Trotz came in and wanted to put a stamp on things and wanted to make a splash in his first offseason. And a lot of new faces, a lot of veteran pieces who had been on teams. You take a look at Steven Stamkos, who was on the team for, I think it was 15 years, March or so.
Yeah, he was in Vegas for one of the original Vegas Golden
Exactly.
Knights.
When you're there, you have to get used to 22 new teammates. You have the coaching staff, you have the training staff, you have a new arena, you have a new pregame meal spot, you have a new school for your kids. You have to make sure your wife is taken care of. There's so many different things. Exactly. You want to make sure your family is comfortable, so that way you're at your best, you're comfortable, and playing with confidence when at the rink. And it didn't look like a lot of guys were very comfortable. So I'm hoping this year they take the step that they were expecting last year. But this is a team for me. I'm very intrigued to see what happens, because I think it could go either way, to be honest with you.
Let me ask you this. You were on several teams. You were on some really good teams. You were on some teams that probably weren't so good. Were you ever in a situation where the things went so bad, or you even joined a team and you got that vibe hey, the team was really focused on having a good start?
Hey, every year you're focused on having a good start. I think some years you're going into it not knowing, maybe you're not a cup contender, but you're at least saying.
But when you've had a disastrous season,
for sure.
that was a disaster.
It was worse than a disaster.
Yeah, really
whatever that is, it was worse than that.
It was worse than that.
You definitely want to get off to a good start. I know there's a few new pieces, maybe some young blood that's getting in there, but these are also veteran guys that have won, that have been on good teams. So I think it was just a one-off year for them. I'm hoping it was just a one-off year for them, because these are talented players, and you kind of hate to see how things went last year.
And the thing that makes me happy is look at the schedule for the Preds, by the way, is they got the road trip continuing in Montreal and Winnipeg before they come home for Anaheim. I'm just happy to see that they bring in Brady Shea, and last year they pair him with Roman Josi. Now, they're two left shot guys who skate the puck and really want to have the puck. I just didn't understand why you would play those two guys together, but thankfully for my sanity, they have separated them this year.
As a head scratcher, sometimes you want to have the offensive defenseman together.
That's true.
So
I mean, there obviously was some kind of thinking behind it.
Correct.
Right?
And ideally, you're having the puck on your stick or you have possession of the puck the whole time they're on the ice. But when you have the luxury of having numerous of those types of players, you would imagine they would split them up, especially being the same hand shot. And Yossi, I mean, he's logging close to 30 minutes every single night. It feels like as soon as he's off the ice, he's back on, hopping over the boards again, and he doesn't get tired. He's such an efficient skater. He wants more minutes. I think it was just a product of them having a lot of new pieces, and they weren't sure how exactly the puzzle fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yossi was dinged up for the second half of the year. He missed a lot of time, and Stamkos and Marchessault are kind of the same piece. So how do they kind of fit at this stage? But who knows? Maybe now things will straighten out. And you know what helps? Yossi Saros playing well to start the season. So good goaltender.
Good goaltending always helps.
Cleans everything.
You make a few mistakes, you're not worried about it. He's going to clean it up for you. And I'm not sure he's ever been the issue there. Like year in and year out, he performs. Again, this is I'd say a fringe team for me this year. Like not knowing which way they can't get worse, obviously. But are they a playoff team? Are they a bubble team? Are they a little bit better than last year? I'm not sure, but I'm excited to watch.
Well, they're in that tough Central Division, and we got a big Central Division matchup tonight between the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. And to preview it, our good friend Mike Russo from The Athletic. We'll talk about the Wild and the Stars. That's next on First Shift. Here is a look at the early 25-26 season comparison between the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars. And the Stars won both their games, the Wild 2 out of 3. And those two teams get together tonight in Dallas, the Wild opening a 5-game road trip. And for more on this one, we bring in our buddy from The Athletic, Mike Russo, on the scene there in Dallas. So Mike, let me get your just the overview of Minnesota through 3 games. What has been your feeling about the start?
You know, it's been okay. I mean, it would look a lot better if they didn't blow that game against Columbus the other night. They rallied back a couple times and then just sort of gave it away. Their power play has been unbelievable so far. 8 power play goals through 3 games. Kaprizov and Boldy have looked outstanding. They've gotten a bit of a mixed bag in goaltending, but Wallstedt had a huge win last night, and obviously Gus opening night with the shutout. I think the one concern I have is second line scoring. Matt Zuccarello's injury right now has definitely affected the lineup in a big way. They're trying to figure out a way to get some scoring on that line, and now they start a 5-game road trip tonight in Dallas. And as Michael could tell you, when you have only one scoring line, it's probably easy on the road, easier at home for these home teams to really match up against those lines. And so I think that is going to be the big indication on this road trip is, do they have to at some point break up Boldy and Kaprizov to sort of spread the wealth, or do they continue to really load up that top line and pray that maybe a Marcus Johansson could get Vladimir Tarasenko going? But 5-on-5 scoring so far has been an issue for this team, but their power play has been outstanding.
You talk about Zook, and an old teammate of mine, a phenomenal teammate, incredible playmaker. What is the update with him, and where does he fall in the lineup here? There's so many pieces that he has chemistry with, but when you want to have that depth, do you fit him in on that second line? Do you try to find pairs? Like, where exactly do you think he fits in when he does come back?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend if Boldy and Kaprizov continue to look as unbelievable as they have so far, because we know that Zuccarello and Kaprizov just read each other's minds. Obviously, Zuki is one of his best friends in the world and has been an incredible mentor to him since he got to Minnesota. My guess is that he winds up clearly in the top 6. The update with him, Michael, is the hope is that he'll be back by mid to late November. He had surgery on core muscle right before the season, came into camp and felt it, and then they underwent, and the original timeline was 7 to 8 weeks. So I know that Zuki, he's been working out lightly. He was in St. Louis the other day to see the surgeon. He was hoping to get an accelerated timeline. I know that he wants to be back as soon as possible.
Let me ask you about Marco Rossi, because it's been an interesting run for Marco Rossi there, right? He's a high draft pick. He gets drafted in that COVID era. There's some injury issues he had, some illness issues. He finally kind of gets going. I get the sense in Minnesota, like if they could have moved him, maybe they would have, but they couldn't really fill the spot, as they look for maybe a second center there or someone else that could play in a top six. So they end up signing him. I mean, like, how's the feeling about Marco Rossi right now? And am I off on that, in my description of his time there?
No, you're definitely not off. And if Brock Nelson signed here, that probably would have been what would have happened. But, you trade Marco Rossi, and where's the center scoring come from? He is just often underappreciated, and I really don't totally understand why. He, other than maybe, he's an undersized guy, but he certainly doesn't play that way. If you look at his analytics, if you look at NHL Edge, every scoring chance he gets is at the net. He goes into the corners. He's courageous as can be. He works his butt off in the offseason and works his butt off on the ice. And even as we talk about Boldy and Kaprizov, it's like I'm forgetting the center on that line. But he's had a great start to his season. Obviously scored the shootout winner last night against Los Angeles. So I think that he's found a home here. I think still the Wild might regret not signing him longer term, especially where you see the salaries going in today's NHL. To get him at 3 times 5, if you could have gotten him at 6, 7, 5, that's pretty good price for Marco Rossi. And so we'll see if they regret that in a couple of years. But right now, he has certainly looked great with Kaprizov and Boldy. And remember, he's the one doing this with second power play unit ice time. And on the Minnesota Wild, that second unit almost never gets out on the ice because either the first unit scoring or they're on the ice for, a minute 50. So we never really get to see that second unit. And Rossi continues to get a lot of his points at even strength.
You talk a little bit about the lack of depth maybe up front. I love the way the back end is built. Obviously, you have good goaltending. But how much does it weigh on the team being in the Central Division? If they're in the East, they're probably finishing first in the standings every single year. Does it weigh on the team knowing that you have Colorado, you have Dallas, you have St. Louis is nipping there too at their heels?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, of course. Yeah. Winnipeg doesn't scares me as much come playoff time, but you're never really getting a favorable matchup come round one. Is that something that you maybe feel in the dressing room?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a absolute treacherous division, and what really shows you is that you have to get points right off the hop. You can't give LA a free point like they did last night when they blew a 3-0 lead at home. We saw last year the Wild got off to one of the best starts in franchise history. They were at mid-December. They were near tops in the league with Winnipeg and Washington, and then all of a sudden they ran into injury issues and things fell apart, and they had to make the playoffs miraculously in a tiebreaker in Game 82, and Eriksson Ek scored in the final minute. So you've got to get off to a great start, and to your point, I mean, it's just imperative to get points this early. And their back end, though, I mean, they to me is one of the strengths of their team. They got Brodin back, with Faber. Right now, Middleton's with Spurgeon, which the two of them, when Middleton got here 3 or 4 years ago, were outstanding together. And you put Boyum with a really quality veteran that could take care of him on the third pair. I think that's probably the smart defense pairings. They tried Boyum a little bit with Spurgeon. Middleton didn't look great there. All of a sudden, Boyum at 19 years old is probably not ready to play 24 minutes a game like Spurgeon. So I do like their blue line a lot.
It's funny, you mentioned Boyum, and obviously a high draft pick, had a lot of success, the World Junior level for Team USA, University of Denver as well. So he comes in with this winning pedigree. He jumped in, got a little taste last year in the postseason, but in the early going, averaging 21 plus minutes. I mean, is that the plan for him moving forward, or has that just been kind of the way these first handful of games have played out?
Yeah, a big reason was because Brodin was out of the lineup until opening night, and then they tried him in Game 2 playing with Spurgeon, and because of that he played 24 minutes. So it's probably at this point in his career probably a little too much ice time. And so last game they played him with Zach Bogosian. They lowered it a little bit because he was exposed a bit against Columbus, but he is going to be a sensational defenseman. He brings an element to the Wild's power play that they have never, in at least my 21 years covering this team, had. And Brent Burns would have been that if he had stuck around here longer, but they traded him in 2011. But really, Boyum, he's just lights out on that power play. And right now, with Kaprizov and Boldy and Eriksson Ek and Tarasenko, he is fit in absolutely like a glove.
You talk about some of the veteran leadership. with Fleury gone, obviously goaltending is locked up with Gus Bus back there, but it's tough losing a big personality like Flower. With him gone, have you noticed someone maybe taking the reins on some of the pranks or lightening up the mood a little bit, especially with this road trip coming up?
Well, if you ask Wild players, they'll say that that's the one area where Gustafsson has learned a ton from Fleury is the pranks, and he's even gotten good at denying it until until he's pretty much forced to admit that he did it. So Gus is he's an interesting guy. I mean, this is somebody that during games Michael does like these riddles in his head and will come to the bench and ask players like, what's an animal that starts with Q because he's gotten stumped. I mean, this is how he's an interesting guy. He will not, refuses to buy an iPhone. So he's, look, there's a reason why I invested in him. He's been one of the best goalies in the league the last couple of years. You saw where the goaltending market was going next summer. There's not a lot available. So the Wild had to pay him, and the market is just going up and up and up. And he took technically a team-friendly deal at accepting below 7. But they still believe heavily in Jesper Wallstedt. He obviously had the tough third period last night, but then in overtime, the shootout was terrific. So the Wild feel at $9 million the next, 2 or 3 seasons, just between the two of them, that they are really in a quality position with their goaltending beyond.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Wallstedt takes that step this year. He's a very highly thought of young goaltender when he was drafted, and I saw him play at the junior level, and he was terrific for Sweden at the World Juniors. Mike, you're somebody who covers the whole league. You're in Dallas today. I mean, what are you hearing about the Dallas Stars as you get ready to see them tonight? New coach, Glenn Gullett's in there, a little bit of a different look, but this is a team where there's very high expectations.
Yeah, they're always there, and I still think that a lot of people feel like the Dallas Stars are the team to beat. I mean, obviously, it didn't end perfectly last year between Jake Ottinger and Pete DeBoer. It leads to the coaching change. I think they feel like they'd like to get grittier in the playoffs when it matters. But you just know at this time of year they are going to be there. I still think they would love to, especially with Jamie Benn out, maybe add some scoring punch to Sam Steele. I don't know if he's a fit there for the top line. But you look at their back end, it's terrific, and I personally have the greatest amount of respect for Jake Ottinger. So I think they have everything that they need in their lineup to win it all, and now it's just a matter of getting over the hump. And that Jim Nill will look at the deficiencies that he might see come trade deadline, try to make a move. They made obviously the huge move last year with Rantanen.
All right, so the Wild and the Stars tonight in Big D start a 5-game trip for the Minnesota Wild, which does come east. So hopefully, Mike, we'll run into you at the Garden or at the Rock when the Wild are in town to play the Rangers and Devils next week.
Yep, absolutely. See you, EJ.
All right, there he is, Mike Russo from The Athletic. Stars and Wild tonight in Dallas. We get back. Lane Hudson signed that big contract, and Matthew Schaefer's first overall pick, and Z Bouillon, we just talked about him. I want to talk about some young defensemen. I got a good young defenseman right next to me to talk young D's. That's next on First Shift. Get a tweet from the Montreal Canadiens, and good news for management. The Canadiens have agreed to terms on multi-year contract extensions with both Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes, and deservedly so. I think these guys have come in and really done a nice job working in tandem. You can take a look at the contracts that the Canadiens' young core, they traded for Noah Dobson, gave him the big contract, just signed Lane Hudson, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Goulet, Demidov. At some point, he's going to be on that list in terms of more money if things work out as we think they will for him. But this is a nice young core of players.
Do you think management is thanking Suzuki for developing that culture and saying, hey, let's not try to break the bank here. Let's keep us all together and hopefully form a little bit of a dynasty.
He's been a really good player, too.
Yeah.
Suzuki, did you get a chance to probably maybe early in his career?
Yeah, I've heard stories about him that early on he had those character traits of a captain, and he's done a great job there. They're developing really something special, and to get all those guys locked up. When you look at the names, it's one after another, and a few more coming on the way. This is a team that could be good for very many years.
Yeah, and they've They're a team that was already in the playoffs last year, so that can kind of accelerate your growth and development by having an experience in the postseason. So congratulations to those guys, and congratulations to Lane Hutson, who signed a new deal yesterday. What do you make of that contract? You're a defenseman. You watch what Lane Hutson does. He's a unique character out there. His whole life, everybody's told him he's too small, and all he does is go and play really well. And now he's got some security and a nice contract.
A great deal for the team. You're going to see this 2-3 years from now and be extremely excited to have him at the number that he's at. I'm interested to see the progression for him. Obviously, a phenomenal playmaker. You see the plays he's making on a nightly basis. He's always got the puck on his stick, the O zone, D zone, neutral zone. He's able to make plays. But now after year one, and I'd gone through it before, not that I put up 60-plus points that he did in his rookie year, every team's focal point, their pre-scout is going to be Lane Hutson. Let's be physical on him. Let's be physical on him. Every time we jump the puck and get skin on him, don't allow him to jump by you and get up in the play. So it makes it's a much tougher game when every time you're going back, touching the puck, or even in the O zone, you're always getting hit. It tires you out, quite a bit quicker than before when you feel like you're playing a little bit of pond hockey. So he's a phenomenal player, but in order to take that next step, it's going to be tougher, and he's going to have to maybe make some adjustments on the fly.
Quick question about Lane, and I see it with Quinn Hughes as well. I see it with Cole Hutson, who's also his brother playing college hockey. It seems like these guys, the smaller but quicker defensemen, they use their skating ability up high, the top third of the zone, much more often. Like, they'll skate it. They're not afraid to skate across the blue line with the puck. I mean, is that something that is newer to the game now, or?
I think that's just the defensive systems, and
the way teams are playing.
Correct. There's no one really that's rewriting the defensive scheme. So a lot of teams are playing five in a quadrant, and they're typically handing off once that player exits their quadrant. So when they're working the top of the ice, you'll have your strong side forward that'll be kind of mirroring you, and then as soon as you cross the plane of center of the ice, the next forward will take it. So there's a little bit more space up there to play with. Everyone's trying to play down low, and especially with the new rules, a lot of teams are focused on blocking shots as well. So you're seeing, more of these offensive defensemen. Cale Makar is probably the best in the business at doing that. They're finding that quiet ice up top and allowing that, their skating ability to find some lanes, whether it's a shot through or getting the defensive schemes caught in some switches.
Yeah, some mistakes along the way. Talking about young defensemen, you got in the league at 18 years old, and you had a really good year with the Rangers. But you were a high draft pick. Matthew Schaefer was the first overall pick, and there was some discussion about how things were going to play out. Well, they're playing out through the first handful of games here. I mean, you can see here, he's averaging 23 minutes plus 23 minutes. That's 3+ minutes more than the next highest minutes guy there. And there's some veteran players behind. All those guys have played NHL games, and a bunch of them. Matthew Schaefer played 26+ minutes yesterday against the Winnipeg Jets. I ask you, I mean, it just seems like that's a lot of minutes, no matter how good a young player you are.
It's a lot of minutes, and early on, and Patrick Waugh was raving about him. Has raved about him since he saw him at training camp.
He's a wonderful skater. I mean, we know he's a player, but he's barely 18.
Correct. And he, even in his interviews, he seems very wise and mature beyond his years, excuse me. But there's a lot of things, especially as a defenseman, which I'm slightly biased, but it is the hardest position in the game.
I agree.
You have to learn. You have to learn by playing. So as much as he looks comfortable out there, there's going to be, every day is a new learning experience for him. And I'm worried about giving him too many minutes, because especially with a team like the Islanders, aren't the most offensively gifted. So it's not like these are all ozone starts and they're playing a bunch of ozone minutes. The way that they're built is to defend from the back out, and it's to win the 2-1, the 3-2 hockey games. So for 26 minutes a night at that age, I'd like to see it scaled back a little bit. And you brought up a great point. It all depends on its game situation.
Yeah, like they were chasing that game yesterday, so Patrick Waugh was throwing them out there more, and as they were trying to catch up, I needed that kind of push from the back end. But boy, oh boy, that just seems like, I worry again. I maybe because I've been around a long time, Michael. I saw you come into the league at 18. I've seen others come into the league. I always worry about the development of young players, because you get drafted, you're a high draft pick, you're important to that franchise. We want, if I draft you or Matthew Schaefer, whoever I want you to be someone that's going to be part of my franchise for hopefully 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Players in the first round, that's what you could have there. So I'm always worried about development. I see somebody get, especially on defense, pucks get dumped in, you get nicked up, you get to the wrong area because you're a little inexperienced. Yep. You think you could do something, maybe you can't. This is a hard league to learn in. That would be my concern.
As I said, every day is a new learning experience, and it's a long season, 82
yes,
games.
Yes, it is.
This is something he's never done before.
He played 17 games last year.
Yes, no matter how much energy he has, no matter how much enthusiasm he has, no matter how great of shape he is in, this is completely new to him. So to be able to play 26, and his type of 26 minutes is up and down the sheet. It's not like he's a defensive defenseman and he's just staying between the dots and being very efficient. He's up and down the ice. He's getting up in most plays, most shifts. He's getting up in most plays, and then he's having to come back. Like, these are heavy minutes.
You had a really good first year with the Rangers under John Tortorella. Do you remember, like, the middle of the year, how things were unfolding? Like
the first bit, because I still have to make the team, so you have those 9 games to really before they decide if they're sending you back to junior or you're making the team. And thankfully our power play got hot, and I had a few great pieces that helped me along the way. I was just kind of dishing the half wall, and again, just playing with confidence and not really knowing any better. And then, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, you start getting some bruises, you start blocking shots, which I never knew, never did or never knew how to.
Games get harder.
The games get harder, they start to mean more. And at that time, you're playing your division 8 times too. So you're getting more of those rivalry games, which are a little bit more physical than the cross-conference games. So every day is a learning experience. You start to fatigue a little bit, and it's natural for that to happen. But I'd rather see him fatigue at 20 minutes a night as opposed to 26.
Yeah. So we'll see. Again, these are all short sample size right now, and the Islanders have been trailing. They've lost their first 3. Maybe that's part of it. But I can tell you this, rooting for Matthew Schaefer, because I agree with you. He's a really, really interesting young man. I said it many times. He's a magnetic personality, and we're rooting for him to do very, very well this season. When we come back, we'll be rooting for our guy, J.D. Lindbergh. I'm rooting for him to get the parlay right. He had a tough start to the season last week, but I am confident that he's going to get it turned around. Making some money for us next on First Shift. It's time for the Top Line Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. A little different wrinkle this year. We're going to keep track of what's going on here with JD. Here are the season standings. 0-1, but listen, you can't. Sometimes, you'd like to get off to a good start. Sometimes it doesn't happen. JD, let's get to 500 today. Let's bring in a little cash. Get it going. What do you got?
Got to make the Shifties a little money on a Tuesday. Yeah, we're going to try and be accountable to ourselves and to the Shifties this season. So hopefully we get on the right side of the ledger. Sterno, get us to the big board. Here we go. Mike Johnson was on the program yesterday. He's working this game up in Toronto tonight. It's going to be Justus Annunen against Caden Primo. Backup goalies, we like overs. First period over, 1.5 in this one. Justus Annunen and Caden Primo slated to start in this one, so no UC Saros. You guys spoke about him earlier, being key to Nashville's great start. Representative goaltending, but you know what? When I see numbers starting in the 8s, I like to be on the side of the over. So we like over in the first period between the Preds and the Leafs. Back to the big board, please, Sterno. The Rangers, they have yet to score a goal at home. So I was looking. I think they're going to score tonight, right? Just one goal was like minus 2,800. I'm still paying a lot of juice here in the parlay at minus 410 for a goal and a half. But Rangers, they're going to score 2 goals. Like, that's like about average. Check this out from our buddy Lawrence Goldstein in research. The last time the Rangers have been shut out in 3 straight games, I think EJ was still scouting for the Stars. 1928.
I remember that.
And it's safe.
I remember that. That was a bad run for the Rangers, I will tell you that. So, no question, that was problematic.
But they were peppering the goalie, though. 60 shots on goal in 2 home games this season. So we like the Rangers to finally break through. Over 1.5 goals tonight for NYR. Finally, making the Shifties stay up late. Gonna make them work for it a little bit here. Anaheim Ducks, 1 or more power play goals tonight. DZ's bud Chris Kreider out there. The power play has been better. Big area of improvement for Anaheim this season. I know it's a small sample size theater here, but we got the second best power play in the league through the first week. So clicking at 40%. So take us back to the big board to show the Shifties what they could win here. Plus 289 odds. A $10 bet, that would pay out, hang on, math, that would pay out $38.97 for the Shifties. Fellas, where do you think I'm going wrong tonight?
Well, I would be a little worried about Anaheim because, like, you give me the short sample size on the great power play. They were El Stinko on the power play last year. They're playing the Penguins tonight in the first game of a road trip, so fresh team that got beat up a little bit the other night. Probably be looking to tighten it up tonight, so I'd be concerned about that one.
The Rangers one, you feel like they have to score, but as we talked about,
gotta score two though now.
Yes, but as we
score two.
Correct. As we talked about before, with some of the injuries, you got McDavid and Draisaitl playing 25, 26. They're almost playing half the game out there, and those guys coming in MSG, they're going to probably want to put on a show. I'm not sure.
You're worried about that one, huh?
I'm worried about that one.
Hey, 1928 was a long time ago.
I would love to see that.
You know,
That'd be great, right?
it is the centennial. Yeah. Maybe they want to celebrate by never scoring at home this year.
I'm a sucker for a good historic stat. I'm a sucker for one.
There you go. All right, JD. Good luck, my friend.
Thanks,
Apparently, you'll need it. All right. We come back. It's time. The Ducks have their home opener tonight, and every year they do the 21st Duck. We love this initiative. We'll talk about it next on First Shift.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FLY when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Big night for the Anaheim Ducks, their home opener. And with that, here's a tweet. We are thrilled to introduce the inspirational Daniel Doc Jacobs as this year's 21st Duck. Lucas Dostal surprised him with the news during a recent video call. You will see Doc skate out with the team at our home opener, which is tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Doc Jacobs is a really interesting story. I mean, he was a Navy vet and a corpsman, and he was in Iraq. He suffered a horrific situation where an IED explosion. He lost both of his legs. He came back and redeployed back with a combat unit, which is, I mean, just amazing courage to do that. He's gone out. He's a big-time sled player. He's represented Team USA, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. He's been in marathons. What an inspirational story. I love the initiative with the Ducks. Every year they have somebody that I think is really unique or inspirational. Amazing story.
Pretty incredible story. I mean, our hero. Great by the Ducks to do this.
Yeah.
I'll be tuning in for this. I'm getting chills just having you list off all the things that he's done and the tragedy he's gone through, and him to bounce back every time. So very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's the Ducks do, and you played a little bit of time with the Anaheim Ducks, and I've been following this now for many years. They do this every year, and every year it's somebody really interesting or fascinating or inspirational. So great job by the Ducks. Congratulations to Daniel Doc Jacobs, and we will be watching tonight as he skates out onto the ice. That's it for us today, Michael. Great job by you.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll have you back soon. NHL Now is coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow.